You're listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation providing strategic and tactical advice about inbound sales and marketing. And now, here are your hosts, Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli.
Welcome back to the Yin and Yang Show. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us again this week on our podcast. We love bringing it to you. We talk lots of sales, lots of marketing, and all things orange, too, about HubSpot. So I'm Lindsay, the marketing folk here, joined by my buddy Sig. What's up, Sig?
Hey, morning, Lindsay. How's it going?
It's going. How are you doing?
I'm great. I know like one of the rules of talking or something is that you're not supposed to talk about the weather, but I do have to note that it's snowing this morning.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, up here in Boston, we just love a solid, 5-6 months of winter. We just got to have as much as we can get. I don't know if you ever heard the saying, but New England has like basically 3 months. It's like there's really no spring. There's like summer, fall, winter, and then winter again, basically.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry. It's March 10th, people. March 10th, episode 13, and it's snowing in Boston.
Yeah, the thing that's nuts, though, is that, it was almost 70 degrees like a week ago. So, and then there's supposed to be another snowstorm next week, but I am headed down to your neck of the woods next week. Well, sort of. I mean, the same city, opposite coast, though. I'm going to be on the west coast of Florida in Fort Myers Beach for 5 or 6 days, visiting my parents, who do not live there full time, but do spend a month or so every year down there, getting out of this nasty New England weather. March is kind of a good time to do that. I've been doing that for the last probably 4 or 5 years. So I'll be in the sunshine with you, my friend, before you know it.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
It's beautiful over there. We were there, my VP of sales and I, John Pulley, we spoke at there's a group inside our industry called the Pros Elite, and they're amazing consultants, and they help with their sales, operations, service, and so they brought us out to speak. And it was the hotel was amazing. I made my husband drive over just to stay the one night because you have to come out here.
Were you in Fort Myers Beach, or were you like in Naples or somewhere around
Fort Myers Beach, but it was on like the bay.
Okay,
like a bay.
Estero, there's a bunch of bay. Well,
it was a really nice hotel.
Yeah, there are some beautiful places down there. I mean, Naples especially, and then parts of I think it's called Estero Beach or something like that. Maybe I'm getting my beaches mixed up. Estero Boulevard. Anyway, yes, it's a lot of fun, beautiful places. You get the idea.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. So, well, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So I'm getting out of this, and then hopefully I'm just gonna bring the warm weather back with me. I don't think that's gonna happen, but sometimes it happened 1 year out of the last 5 years. I left. It was freezing. I went to Florida for like 5 days, and I came back, and it was like consistently at least above 50, which I know may sound ridiculous to you, but that's like really warm for.
I know. I got in the car today. It was 69. I was like, oh, it's a little chilly.
Well, you used to live in the Mid-Atlantic. You were what,
Baltimore.
like in the Baltimore area, yeah, for so many years. So you get the idea.
It snowed on my birthday 1 year, April 19th.
Say it again.
It snowed on my birthday once on April 19th.
Oh my God! This is a complete side note. I'm sure no one is interested in hearing this, but you and my girlfriend share the same birthday.
Great people are born on that day. We're on the cusp of Aries and Taurus. We have all kinds of wonderful characteristics.
That is the take. So
you win very few arguments.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Very cool. Well, then that's two people that I know that share my birthday. My daughter's best friend. She'll be, all of 8 this year when I turned 40. So we celebrate together. Usually they're party hats. So at least I have party hats. So anyway, that was enough banter. Let's talk today about SMART goals. Yeah.
So should we tell everyone how I totally botched it before we got on the call?
Please do. Now, without looking at your notes, don't look up.
I'm up.
SMART,
My hand.
SMART. What do they stand for?
Do you want me to tell you what I thought they were before we got on the phone?
Yes. Go.
This is exactly why we're doing the podcast today. It's because even people who are supposed to know this stuff like the back of their hand, yours truly, forget.
You forget.
Right? And so my original guess, I'm just going to rattle it off. I think I said the original was like simple, measurable, actionable, repeatable, and I don't even think
I think you got timely, didn't you?
I may have. I think I stopped after the A, and I was like, "What's the R and the T again?"
Oh yeah, you did.
And then it wasn't only that, because I was thinking in my head, "Oh, I'm all cool. Like I got the first three, no problem. I'll just ask her for the last two." And then Lindsay goes, "Yeah, so the S, the M, and the A, they weren't exactly what you said. So she said they're actually specific." Now, and I'm looking
now
again.
He's looking at his notes.
Specific, measurable. I think I got the M. So specific, and I probably wrote down something like metrics, or like simple and metrics, but it's kind of the same.
Close enough.
Specific, measurable, attainable, repeatable.
No, relevant.
No, relevant. Sorry.
All right. So
I don't know if my brain.
strike that. Reverse it. Let's back up. So the S is specific. We're going to go through all of these. The M is measurable. The A is attainable. The R is relevant. And the T is timely. Okay? So, but for all you folks listening out there, don't worry about memorizing all of this stuff. I just want to basically walk through why you need this stuff. Whether it's you doing it as the principal or the salesperson or the marketing person, or if you have somebody helping you with it, it's just a really important baseline so that you can go back and measure later on and say, did we get where we wanted to go for the investment that we're making and the time that we're putting in? Is it something that we're able to do? Did we hit our goals? Did we miss our goals? So it's setting goals. It's kind of like, what if you just let your sales team go out and be like, yeah, whatever you make this month is cool.
Sure. There was obviously I'm not the subject matter expert here, right? At least in terms of in terms of the acronym and like the framework and teaching someone how to do it. I can't even keep these things straight in my mind, but I can give you some context around the real life examples and use cases for this stuff. So as we go through it, I'm happy to share some of that.
Yeah, because that's going to be the important part, to put it into context for people.
Yeah, sure. So I'll of course, here I am, the sales arm of this thing, kind of, talking like I know exactly what I'm talking about, and just totally creating a horrible image for the sales profession.
I was going to say, so Brian Halligan, if he were listening right now, the CEO of HubSpot, he'd be like, oh my God, Brian, Sig, dude, really?
Yeah, I'm like, look, I got GPCT.
And I implore you. I implore you.
I got it all the back. It's got all that by the back of my hand. The SMART goals, that's exactly what we have: a service and consulting team. We have amazing agency partners like Lindsay, because they take care of complicated stuff. You leave the simple stuff to me, the real work to the marketing half of the show. So,
thank you for that. What did you say? R was remarkable or something? I can be the remarkable.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But anyway, I make this really easy when I work with our clients, as do the other sales or the other marketing consultants that work with our clients. Is we kind of walk you through it like step by step. So since we can't do that right now, with every single person around and get everybody's goals, you just have to kind of start with the worksheet, and I'm just going to pull it up right now. Okay, so throwing the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely out the window. We start with what's your overall goal, okay? And so for us, people have a series of things that they can look at. Do you want more visits to the traffic? Do you want more conversions, more leads, or more sales? So you have to figure out first where you are. So in our industry, most of the websites do not have the authority, the traffic. They're not going to be able to convert a lot because they don't have the right people coming to the site. And this is a numbers game. So what is it? I think it's like 2% conversion rate, traffic to leads. Okay, think about that.
Yep.
2%. So if 100 people come to your website, only 2 are going to fill out a form. So you've got to attract as many people as you can. If you don't have qualified folks coming to your site, and by qualified, I mean they're looking around, they're going to multiple pages, they're digesting the website, they're reading blogs. They might not be downloading anything yet, but you got to get the right people there. So in our world, what we discovered about 6 months in was people were like, we have great traffic. And, we've got 2,000 people coming to the website. And then you start digging into where they're going and their requests. And I work in the office technology industry. So for us, it's, copiers and document management. They're like, I need more toner. I need service on my machine. I have to put in my meter reads. That is not a qualified person coming to your website to consume and learn more about you. That's going to convert into a qualified lead. They're already your customers. Okay. Yes, you can cross-sell to them, and there are other strategies and tactics you can. Well, that's another podcast. But you have to know what your real traffic looks like. So dig into your Google Analytics. Go ask your marketing person how many people are going to the services pages, the forms to complete for service and toner and all that. Find that out and weed those people out, and there's your more realistic number. So for us, I'm focusing today on walking through drive qualified organic traffic to the website. Okay.
One quick question for you, Lindsay, on that same topic of doing things like blocking out your existing customer base, which I agree is a totally separate podcast. Like, what do you do with that traffic? Because it's still relevant traffic. It's just not traffic that's going to drive net new growth, obviously.
Right.
But another example: how often do you see the situation where a company doesn't even realize that it needs to be blocking its own internal traffic?
Oh yes, the IP. People think I'm crazy when I'm like, "What's your company IP?" And they're like, why? I'm like, because I need to enter it into HubSpot so that all the employees going to the website to read the blog or look at pages, they're not being counted as traffic.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh. Because if you've got 500 employees and you've got people sporadically going around, I'm going to click on this blog. That's not qualified. Get that out of there.
It's a super simple thing. It's a weird, it's like the first time I heard about that concept was probably 7 years ago. When I was becoming a HubSpot customer, actually, before I worked at the company. And when someone said that, it's one of those things that, and again, unless you live in this world every single day, you don't really think about that stuff, because for some reason, at least to me, I view the website as this external thing that only people from outside of my business read for some reason. But when you critically think about it, and I don't have exact numbers on this, I don't know, maybe you do, or we could find something. I'd be willing to bet that there's just way, I mean, depending on the size of your business, but there's way more internal traffic than you might think.
Yeah.
So just be really careful about that, because otherwise you're going to end up with this huge set of like false positive data, or whatever the statistically correct terminology is. I'm horrible, obviously, with acronyms and terminology and definitions. So I'll just, throw that one out, but you get the point.
Yeah, because you want to do that too with like vendors who might come to your site all the time. So if you have a marketing agency and it's a relatively large agency and they're always in your website, always going there, you want to exclude their IP address as well. So think about the folks who are coming to your website who might be valuable partners but aren't going to be buying your services. They're helping you sell your services.
Right.
So like we have, obviously we're virtual, so I have a list of everybody's IP address in our organization, and we put that all into HubSpot when we start working with a customer, because I don't want me going in there like perusing through the website all the time, counting as, oh, look at all these page views. so that's a good point. So, typically for the overall marketing goal, you have to start with, what do you need? What do you need right now? Okay. Yes, you want leads, not what you want, what you need. Before you can get leads, you have to get traffic. Okay. That's a loaded statement, but we can go back to that another day. And then you want to figure out what's your time period. Okay. So when do you want to, first you have to get, the numbers. Okay. So we say, all right, so your goal is to get traffic to the site. What best summarizes your needs? You want to get more visitors to the website. Okay. And then you have to be very specific. Okay. Don't just say, I want more visitors. Everybody wants more visitors. Everyone wants more sales. How many? Okay. So for us, a realistic example is we just walked through this with a customer the other day, and they want to grow from their current 900 visits a month. So every month, 900 people are coming in from organic traffic. And now, granted, don't forget, there's different types of traffic. There's organic, Then there's people who type your email or your URL in directly. They're direct. Folks that come in because they clicked on something in an email. So there's email. So there's all different kinds of traffic. But we're focusing on the organic, the people who go to Google and type in, something that they need. So you want to grow that from 900 visits a month to 1,440 by a certain date. So for this particular client, grow from 900 visits to 1,440 visits per month by September 1st, 2017. Okay.
So if I might add one other bit in there, and I think that you're spot on, as the framework suggests. Obviously, I think the other part that I'm imagining you go through, and you kind of already just explained too, is the why behind something, right? And we just kind of laid that out. You kind of introduced, this topic with, the fact that maybe only 2% or so of all your website traffic is going to convert into a new lead. But I think that once you, kind of as a business owner or principal in your business, or, working with, working with Lindsay or another outside service provider, for example, understanding that why behind it is kind of what makes it click for a lot of people. So it's not just, I have 900 visits now, I need to get to 1,400 by, the end of 2017. It's, I have 900 now, I need to get to 1,400 by the end of 2017, because if I don't, then our sales team isn't going to have enough leads to hit their goals, which means we miss, and then, and so on and so forth, where you go through the whole stream of consequences or implications rather, behind it. And I think that's what kind of, again, at least for me, and, I don't know if I've talked to hundreds or thousands of different, variety of different businesses over the last, 10 years about this type of stuff. But in talking to business leaders in general, that tends to be what really makes it pop for them, is that why, and what's the consequence or implication behind not getting there, and the importance of these things. And then especially, too, if you're listening into this and saying, geez, how do I explain this back to some of my other team members? Or if you're not the CEO or the principal and you're thinking about how to maybe have that conversation with an executive leader or C-level leader, those are some of the things that you don't want to skip over.
No, you definitely don't want to skip over those things. And you don't want to just throw out, and we're talking about realistic, okay? You don't want to throw out like, no, I'm going to increase my traffic by 50% in the next, month. I'm going to be able to do that. Well, probably not, unless you put a ton of effort into it and you've got thousands upon thousands of dollars for all these. But I mean, like, this is a realistic goal. In 6 months, they're basically going to increase their organic traffic 10% month over month. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's a realistic number. Okay. If they wanted to go more, all we'd have to do is we'd have to pivot and we'd have to change some of our strategy when it comes to what we're offering them. So do we need more blogs then? Do we need more email campaigns? What do we need to do to get to that? Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is realistic for them. Okay. With knowing what their resources are internally, how many blog posts they can do, how much they can go in and optimize their website to increase their SEO, or improve their optimization. This is realistic for them. Okay. And those are all things you have to think about. Do not just walk in and be like, I want to grow the company. Like, if you walk into your marketing department and say, I need 50 leads a month in the next 6 months. Well, that's all well and good, but as a marketer, you're going to have to put this into this spreadsheet and go, okay, then this is the amount of effort that needs to go into it. Can you commit resources to me to do this? Because it happens in our industry a lot. Because a lot of times they don't realize just how much goes into this. And we'll talk about campaigns and building another day, but I literally sent like well over 120 tasks to the internal marketing person for this one customer I'm working with, just to lay out one simple campaign. Over 120 things this person has to do.
How often? It's like I have opinions on this, but you've done it so much more than I have, Lindsay. Side by side with clients. How often do you go through something like this? Someone sets out specific goals that are measurable. Got my first two, right? They got my first two, go. Right? And then they have this panic moment where they realize, oh God, we have to have like a 50x, or maybe not 50, but like a 3x, 4x growth over whatever we're at now, because if we don't, like, everything's going to go to down the drain. How do you kind of reconcile that with somebody, and how do you kind of bring them back to reality when maybe they have that panic moment, or again, in your experience, do they have that panic moment?
They don't really have panic moments as much as they have delusions of grandeur sometimes, where they're like, no, we're going to do all of this. I want to do this. And we literally say, you need to take a step back, okay, and eat the elephant one bite at a time. I literally told this owner 2 weeks ago, I said, you didn't just try to eat the elephant, you tried to eat the whole damn herd. Okay, we can't do that. You have to take baby steps. So, we walk them back, and it's easier to be able to help them visualize it. So we'll literally walk them through and show them, and we use Teamwork PM, project management, and we'll show them like these are all of the things that need to happen just to get us to this one point. If you try to skip steps, I can show you the clients who have tried to do that and their failure rate, because you have to be able to do that.
I love the visual of the eating an elephant. There's another example that a friend of mine gave me that I used to work with. He said, "Sig, I bet I can eat a car." I said, I don't think you can. Like, how exactly would you go about eating a car? He said, well, I'd take the car and I'd basically have it shaved down into like metal shavings. And then I'd sprinkle a tiny amount of that car in my cereal every morning. And, over the course of a year or so, I'd be able to eat a car. I said, that's the most ridiculous idea and most stretch analogy I think I've ever heard in my entire life. But it does relate back to the concept of baby steps, no matter how bizarre that actually may be or sound, as I'm repeating it now.
That's hilarious. I love that. I may use that. People have all kinds of different analogies for it. So I picked that up
the
somewhere.
elephant.
Yeah, I picked
people
that
are
up
like, the elephant in the room, the 800-pound gorilla, blah,
right,
blah, blah.
Right. It's all about animals. I talked about that with my trainer this morning. Because my husband's going to be like, oh, what'd you work on today? Oh, I did donkeys and monkeys. And I'm like, it's like I just went through the whole animal kingdom of exercise moves. I'm like, who names this stuff?
So you're on safari every morning.
I'm on safari and run every morning.
It's exciting.
Sometimes she calls them tushy moves. She's like, let's do a tushy move. And I'm like, okay, really? I'm almost 40. We can. Glutes. They're glutes. So we have to set these goals. We have to stick to that. And then we say, well, how, what are we going to do? What are we going to commit to this? Okay. So we've been through the specific, been through the measurable. Now, is it attainable? Okay. So in order to get to the point where we're increasing organic traffic 10% month over month, what do you need? Well, I need 2 people helping me. I need people to help me create new content, to create blogs. How many blogs do we think we're going to need? Now, we've figured out you need anywhere from 4 to 12. So it depends on how fast you want to get there. The folks that are have asked us to do 12 and do additional campaigns, their goal is 20% growth month over month, but they're paying for that. So and so on and so forth. So is that attainable? If you're going to say, marketing person, you need to do this, and then expect that person to do it by themselves, which we hear over and over again, then you're being unrealistic. Okay. You're being unrealistic.
One other thing I was thinking about too, and I've come across this, I'm sure you have as well. When you get to that point to say, what is attainable, oftentimes it sounds like this is obviously the point where resource requests come in. And you say, well, you're going to have to invest this much. We're going to need this many people. It's going to take these many hours. And oftentimes that means diverting, when someone gets resources, more often than not, that's diverting resources away from somewhere else. So, any perspective on the extent to which clients might push back on that, or how to kind of have that conversation or think through those things? Because I feel like that, to me at least, feels like where going through smart goal setting could break down, where you say, yeah, like everyone wants to talk about their goals, everyone wants to have their delusions of grandeur, right? But when it comes time for the rubber to meet the road and people have to reallocate or shift resources, it feels like that's a place where things can break down. But what's your take on it?
Yeah, and we have, 2 different sides of the coin. We've got the folks who we're doing everything soup to nuts. So they do need to find time for us to meet with their subject matter experts, their SMEs. And so the SMEs have to give us time. We need time. The owners have to give us time. You want us to blog for you, we need to hear your voice. And luckily, we have crashed and burned enough times to be able to point to different examples and go, yeah, this is why this didn't work. So if you give us this, then we have a much better shot at getting to this. We never promise anything. You can't promise that. But oftentimes they're just like, but we're paying you to do everything. Well, yes, but and you already know the industry, because my entire team comes from this industry. Talk about like finding every needle in the haystack. I found every person that's worked inside of a copier dealership that's done marketing. So much easier to not have to educate them on the copier world.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
woo. But we still need time. Help us help you. So we say you're going to need to give us in the beginning 5 to 10 hours of your time. Okay? In the beginning, the first few weeks, we need to be able to understand your competitors. We need to understand all the products that you sell, because everybody sells something a little differently. And so we're able to push back and say, here's this case study of this client, and they totally burned. They crashed and burned because we were new and we didn't realize, we thought we could do it ourselves without the help of the company. Doesn't happen. Does not happen. We just had a meeting with a client the other day, and we were repositioning things because we're not getting internal buy-in. So we're transitioning, we're pivoting. But you have to be able to, if you're going to have your internal marketing team as the sole drivers of this initiative, it won't work. They have to have sales buy-in. They have to have the subject matter experts. It needs to be a part of sales activity, okay? Whether that's, all right, don't make as many cold calls as you used to. Don't stop cold calling, but don't make as many as you used to. Make sure that you're writing out this particular stage of the sales process, because, Bob, the marketing guy, has to go in and create content wrapped around this beginning stage, because we have numbers that show, almost 70% of the buying process is done before they get to talk to you, Mr. Sales Rep. So Bob has to fill in the gaps. If he doesn't, you're going to continue to make cold calls, and it's going to be fruitless. So did that answer the question, or did I kind of go off on a tangent?
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, I was kind of looking for your opinion, no right or wrong. I've seen that happen a lot, where people just get really excited, and then when they have to commit their own time, commit other people's time, take out the checkbook, all of a sudden, the hands clamp up, and they get hesitant to make changes, because it's easier to do nothing than to do something.
It is. It is. But, one of the things we have going for us now is that a lot of people in our industry, we're like slow to adapt to this. So, we've got probably, some of the larger dealerships that we work with or that we know of in this world, a lot of them are doing stuff like this, whether it's using, HubSpot or Marketo or Pardot or whatever they're using. They're doing it. They're figuring it out. And so we have folks who, we're putting forth a lot of effort for them. We see tremendous growth, and then all of a sudden it's slowing down, and we're not doing anything different. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, everybody else is figuring it out, and they're doing it too. So now we have to figure out how to do it better. So it's something in our industry that's catching up. It's catching on. People are understanding that they need to make this transition. And having the goals and having everything set in a something that we can all be held accountable to, both from a marketing perspective and from sales and leadership. They need to help us. It makes things a lot easier to go back and measure and make changes to. If you don't know what's not working, or if you don't know where it went wrong because you haven't really been measuring it, what's the point? So is it attainable? All right. And then, is that specific goal, does it relate to the relevancy of what you need? So for us, yes, sales needs more leads, but first, the website needs more visitors so that we have the opportunity to convert. Okay. And then we already set our timeline. We have 6 months. Okay. So that's kind of in a nutshell how we run through the SMART goals.
So a few things I was thinking about this, Lindsay, as you're going through this, and I was just kind of putting myself in the shoes of, one of your clients, again, or a CEO, principal, or just any marketing or sales team member. And some of the things that I might be thinking about myself are things like, how often do you do this? Who should be involved in discussions like this? How do you kind of ingrain these things into maybe not the day to day, but at least week or month to month kind of operations of business, so that it's just not another thing that's being done that kind of goes nowhere, gets buried under, a stack of, I would say papers, but like no one writes or prints. Well, I don't want to say no one prints things anymore because that's not
true. People are printing now more than ever.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. However, anyway, some of those questions were coming to my mind. So I guess maybe we start with the simple bit of like, if you're advising a client to go through this, who typically is going to be in the room?
So we have found that the following people must be involved. Okay. If there's a marketing person, always the marketing person is involved. Second person that absolutely has to be involved is the president or the head of the company, at least on a quarterly basis. But the way we structure it is we have either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly meetings, depending upon what these guys need and what their budgets are. So that marketing person is always on that call. Sales needs to be on that call, in addition to the CEO and leadership. And sometimes we have service. So the service folks, so somebody who's like, oh yeah, no, we fixed this really complicated issue the other day, and we recorded it. Do you guys want that? Yeah, we do. But those are the people that you have to have, because if you don't have the chief of the organization going, this is what we're going to do, nobody is going to listen. Nobody is going to listen. So by having them in quarterly meetings, it helps keep them engaged, because you're right, the excitement dies. You know what I mean? I'm like, I love my husband and I was so excited to get married to him, but we're coming up on 14, 15. How many years have I been married? 15 years? I don't know. When did I get married? But it's like, I love my husband and I'm very comfortable with him now, but we don't do the same stuff we did as newlyweds. We're not like, yeah, we're going to get a little weekend getaway and be all excited. It's like, it's different now,
Yeah.
It's not that the magic's gone, but
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. I think it just changes. It changes, it evolves.
It evolves,
transforms over time.
Right.
So you said, so it sounds like, services, sales, marketing, and then whoever the, big cheese might be at the company needs to be involved.
Yeah, so marketing, sales, and big cheese.
Okay. So then, and you said quarterly. I mean, do you're bringing the CEO or the business owner back in quarterly, or is it that whole team quarterly? Like, what does that kind of look like, month to month? Like, are you kind of saying, all right, well, it depends on the business. Maybe we'll just kind of do a 3-month sprint and we'll come back and report in 3 months. Or is it, no, like we're actually going to report back to a few people on a biweekly or monthly basis. And then we're going to kind of do the roll up and guidance to the CEO on a quarterly basis. How does that kind of work?
So it's a little different for almost every single client we have. So for one of the clients we have, it's a biweekly meeting. Every quarter we go through numbers and kind of how things look. But on every single call that we do, I've got the person responsible for marketing, I've got the head of sales, and I've got the owner. Every single call. They're very invested in this, and that's why their program is going to accelerate faster than anybody else's. On another call, I have the VP of marketing only. So he's pushing a boulder uphill by himself, and it's very hard to get buy-in when there's no sales involvement. And so that progress is much slower. And then we have another customer who every couple weeks, the head of marketing is there, but she basically hands everything over to us. And we have access to specific sales shmees. And those guys are rocking it because they're blogging, they're helping us, they're giving us insights. But in a perfect world, what we like is we go every quarter, we go over the numbers with the marketing person, and if we can get them the salesperson. And then every year we do like a big powwow. So we've got everybody and we go through year over year numbers. And that's where as many people as will come, will please come join us. But that's always the head of sales, the head of marketing, and the CEO. But for us, we do a lot more day to day with the marketing people because in our industry, that just seems to be what it is because the sales folks are so busy. But we typically have the VP of sales at least once a quarter.
So the SMART goals, I mean, how are these changing?
Oh, yeah, they change all the time. So, like, for instance.
Well, so two parts, if I may.
Two-part question.
I know. You got so excited. I like this. Two parts. So it's one, do they change? And then the second is the maybe counterintuitive part. Where do you draw the line in the sand to make sure that these goals aren't changing too much or without legitimate cause?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really good question. So we pivot a lot on the back end here. So we don't always get a lot of buy-in about, oh, you and your fluffy smart goals. So we set them ourselves because we know the industry, we know what the market will bear, we know what we need to do to get it done. And we'll share that with the marketing person. Okay, so we're going to do this now. Oh, is that cool? Okay, cool. But like, for
Sounds
instance,
like a speakeasy negotiation of some sort here.
yeah, well, because you have to understand, and you're in sales, although you're in sales with folks who understand marketing's role.
Right.
I'm in a world where marketing is an afterthought, and they make pretty brochures.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone. I mean, unfortunately, that is prevalent still. I think I almost feel like I have to be so careful of kind of the echo chambers I live in, as another HubSpot partner pointed out to me the other day, which I appreciated the pushback. So be careful of that echo chambers you live in, because you have some nuances within your business, and I think that for a lot of software startups or just software businesses in general that aren't more than say 5, 10, 15 years old, there are some kind of weird nuances that or issues. There's some issues that we have to deal with that other more traditional or long running businesses don't have to, and then vice versa, right? So it's kind of these trade-offs. But one of those things is, like, I'm a salesperson working for a company who is espousing a totally different way to do marketing, at least compared to the last 50 years. So my job is to know marketing, or know that marketing method at least very intimately. And then as a result, because the way we practice it ourselves at the business, we have amazing sales and marketing alignment. Like, I can't even imagine living without a marketing team who's creating awesome content, feeding leads, like reinventing. I mean, this year we completely reinvented our concept of MQLs and PQLs.
What are PQLs?
So when you're in software,
MQL is marketing qualified lead for people, and SQL is sales qualified lead. But what is a PQL?
So a PQL, when you're in the software world, is a product qualified lead. So for example, when people are trialing the software, or even when they're using like a starter version of the product, for example, and they're, for example, like within our sales tools, right? In the CRM, that you have a certain number of templates that you can use, or you have a certain number of email tracking notifications you can get each month before you are kind of prompted to upgrade. Well, on the back end, there are 3 or 4 very specific actions like that we can observe as salespeople. And when those things happen, so for example, when someone has used their 5th template out of the 5 free that they have, that is a that is considered a PQL event. So product qualified lead event, meaning someone's already using the product, they're about to reach their limit, therefore it may be a good time to reach out to them.
Gotcha.
Right? So again, and you can kind of massage that outside the software world, but that's how we think about it.
Okay, no, that's interesting. That's something we should look at for people who are in the document management world with Laserfiche and DocuWare, and I don't know how trials work for that, but I should find that out.
Yeah, I mean, any product company, I mean, there should be a concept of people who are like tinkering with your product in some way, shape, or form, whether it's on a show floor, at a trade show, however that happens. I'm not an expert in this space, obviously, expert in very few things, especially smart goals.
Smart goals.
Yeah, you get the
They're
idea.
Silly and
No. But yes, So to kind of bring us back, I was just thinking through, how often that changes and whether or not it should change, and because I could see people doing things, in such a flavor of the day type of way, saying, this isn't working, we want to change it, it's not going fast enough. It's sort of like, when do you stand your ground versus when do you relent and say, you know what, this isn't working? Or, you know what, like, we've actually blown this goal out, it's not aggressive enough. And I know that it's nice to say that we're at 200% of our number right now, but we really should have set the bar higher, and it's time to do that.
Yeah, we've seen that too, where it's like, our goal was this, and we blew this out of the water from a visits perspective. Yay! But yeah, no, and that's a good point. And one of the things that we're going to be committing ourselves to is pushing harder this year. So this is the year of pushing harder. So we're going to be setting up a lot more meetings with sales, so that we can teach them. We call it utilization sales. So they're not using the content anywhere in their sales processes for the most part. So we have to figure out how to help them do that. So that's going to be something that we start doing. We're going to start doing this SMART goal thing more often and really kind of pressing the issue. Like, no, we have to do this. But, you know, we always have, like, at the end of our the time that we've set up. So for a lot of our clients, it's like, no, we're talking about a year. Like, we have to increase the visits and it's going to take a year. So at the end of a year, let's go look and see. And we're always checking and balancing on the end to see if we're hitting goals. But then you have to go back and be like, okay, look, we're almost at the end of what the time issue was, the timetable for our SMART goal. We're almost at the end. Let's look at where we are. Let's look at what's next. Are we at the point where we can start talking about, all right, now the goal is like serious lead conversion, okay? But you've got to get the horse to the water before you can make it drink. And we didn't have any horses. There were no horses, no good horses anyway.
Well, I think you kind of hit on this too earlier. Where you said, look, like, you know, I'm sure that negotiation and kind of group decision making happens, whether it's on the biweekly, monthly, or quarterly kind of review of all these numbers, and you kind of figure out as a team, ideally with the head of sales, the head of marketing, the CEO or business owner, and like you said too, maybe someone in account management or services who's involved in that. If your goals relate back into that function, obviously, and oftentimes they do, I'd imagine that's kind of where that is. I think the importance is having that transparency and kind of coming to consensus together so that everyone's moving in the right direction together, as opposed to, you know, pulling each other like this. You know, everyone's running in opposite direction at the same time, but they're all kind of tied to the same rock in the center, and that never works out too well, but happens too often.
And I didn't even throw in, like, when we get to the point where they're like, we want to rank for copiers and for document management and for managed IT services and for telephony. And I'm like, okay, let's focus. Okay, and so we have to bring that conversation happens all the time. No, you said you wanted to be the managed IT services provider. I know you're not ranking as high for copiers as you used to because you're starting to rank more for managed IT services, which was your goal. So, yeah. So it's like those are constant battles, and you know, but it's always, I mean, it's fun. It's like, you know, that session we had with George B. Thomas a couple weeks ago. It's so important and relevant. Go back and listen. I think it was episode like 10 or something. Where we talked about education. Like, you have to help these guys understand this stuff. And so, you know, we try to help them understand goals. We might not be like, we're going to run through our SMART goals today. No, we just kind of walk them through, like, you know, this is what we need. This is what we feel is appropriate to get to where you guys need to be.
All right. So my closing thoughts, I know we're coming up to our time here, my closing thought on this, and I've, as you know, you and I were discussing earlier, Lindsay, I went about goal setting with you, you know, when you and John came on as one of the first agency partners that I worked with at HubSpot, and then, you know, the others, and then clients, and so forth. So I went about goal setting slightly differently, a little bit different framework, but all the concepts that we talked about here today, SMART goals still apply. And this might sound a little cheesy, but I'll say it anyway. My closing thought on the importance of this is to remember that, you know, going through this exercise is super important, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. So make sure that you're spending the time to lay this out, do it internally, take Lindsay's advice. If you don't know how to do it, hire Lindsay, or find an expert that can help you do these things, because it really is important, and it's going nowhere if you don't get it right.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That was a great, I mean, you know, now I've got that Disney song stuck in my head. A dream is a wish your heart makes.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm not going to sing. I considered like starting every podcast with, you know, like, should we do Broadway today? Maybe I'll belt out a Broadway tune. Or would you like something operatic? I can do that as well.
Karaoke hour, karaoke session to start the
session. But thank you for those insights. And, you know, if you guys have questions about any of this or you want to know more, it's super easy to, you know, hop in Google and just type in HubSpot SMART goals. There's so much information on the HubSpot platform about it. You know, listen to this episode again, ask us questions. On Twitter, I'm at LV Kelly with an EY, and Sig is at Inbound Seller. And so ask us questions. And, you know, as always, hey, if you like what we're talking about, give us some love on the iTunes. We have one lovely review. It was lovely to see. One person gave us a very nice review. I want more though.
I think I saw that. It was very heartwarming.
It was.
I really appreciated whoever it was that gave that.
Yeah,
gave that.
it's like it's a weird handle. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
not
it
a
was
name.
like exactly not
But
identified.
thanks, Guy. Thanks, my friend.
It wasn't me, and I don't think it was you.
No, it wasn't me either. No, I thought about you. I was like, honey, husband, go
was
and give
nice.
me a review. He'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah, but let us know what you think. I mean, we can't improve without hearing feedback. So good feedback, bad feedback, all kinds of in between feedback. We like feedback because we want to make this useful and valuable for anyone listening in. And Lindsay and I go back quite a ways, so we're kind of happy and comfortable talking about just about anything sales and marketing related that you'd like to talk about, and probably much more.
Yeah.
So give us that feedback and let us know how we can improve. We want to do that.
And on next week's show, we'll be talking about our 2 little dogs. No. And your little dog, too. So, but yep. All right, guys, thanks again for joining us. And until next time, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep talking.
You've been listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Join us online at yinandyang.fm. That's www.yinandyang.fm.